Do you believe in Mayfield? Al Michaels said that or wanted to say that last night. Raiders shoot themselves, Rams survive officials, and the truth is Sean McVay is a very, very good head coach. Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the December 9th, 2022 edition, brought to you by Temple City Auto Repair. If you're having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at Temple City Auto Repair. You can find them at templecityauttorepair.com. All right, so really, the best part of the Rams season is a 98-yard drive, not conducted by Matthew Stafford, not conducted by John Wolford, not conducted by Bryce Perkins. It's a 98-yard drive conducted by Baker Mayfield, and his key targets on that drive were Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek. Oh, and a guy named Tutu Atwell. What an amazing game last night. Brutal game to watch. And we're going to talk about Mayfield and the Rams and everything here. But first, I just want to say, boy, the refs were horrible last night. The refs were truly horrible. And there wasn't enough discussion about that. The weak pass interference call on Jalen Ramsey, the non-call on Atwell, the Havenstein call on Atwell's catch and run there in the second half that they threw the flag on Havenstein for holding was ridiculous. And Havenstein didn't have a great game, but on that play, certainly that was a ridiculous call. And then, I don't know. I've coached sports. I've written sports. I've seen everything. But as they did the extended highlight of Coleman Shelton's personal foul that put that field goal by Matt Gay to a 61-yarder, it was really interesting because you don't see Coleman Shelton throw a punch. You see Raider players come up to him. You see Coleman Shelton backing away and Raider players kind of following him and then the official following him. And unless Coleman Shelton used some kind of racial slur or something, that ref was an absolute jackwagon and he should be fired because he affected the game. I mean, that was ridiculous. That call was terrible. It was really Bush League. And I'll go and defend the Raiders on this. I guess there is a rule. I know there's a rule, whatever there is. But honestly, at a place like that, you walk away from so much. Jerry Tillery did not get in somebody's mug. Jerry Tillery did not point a finger. Jerry Tillery didn't do those things. I'm not a Jerry Tillery fan. Charger fans are glad he's gone. But to throw that penalty at that moment in the game on the final drive was just Bush League. So the refs were just Bush League all the way through. And very much hit and miss on what they decided to call and not to call. Now, I think it went both ways in its awfulness. So you play the game, right? And I was very angry when I heard John Wolford was going to make the start. I'll still say I don't ever want to see John Wolford on the field again for the Rams. And I think maybe after last night in Baker Mayfield, there's a strong possibility we'll never see him on the field again for the Rams. And honestly, I don't know if we should see Bryce Perkins on the field again for the Rams if this can go the right way. Mayfield gets on the field. He makes one throw, 21-yarder, boom, just first down. And of course, the game plays on. We know the most dangerous lead in the NFL is a 16-3 lead this week, right? You're up 16-3, you're guaranteed to lose. But what's the difference between Mayfield and some of the other guys around the league, and well, mostly look at the guys on the Rams roster? Perkins is young. Wolford's young. Wolford hangs on to the ball way too long. And Mayfield is a decision maker, and he makes quick decisions. And that's why, one 5'7" kid is better than another 5'7" kid, and why a 5'7" kid might be a better quarterback than the 6'4" kid that has all the appearances and looks. It's about making decisions. There are a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFL who pass the eye test, who have all the measurables, but they don't make decisions. And sometimes, at least Mayfield may not always make the right decision, but he makes quick decisions. And that quick decision-making last night is why the O-line grades are a little bit better today. This is not a great offensive line, but they graded out just a little bit better, just enough, obviously, for a 1-point win than they did under Wolford, who held onto the ball and seemed like he was reading Leviticus before throwing it. And so Mayfield did a really good job at that. And I'm not Mayfield fan. I think it was the best game of his career. I think it was better than the win that the Browns had in Pittsburgh for the playoffs. He had to get this win. He had to make plays, and he looked a little bit more like the Mayfield you saw at Oklahoma than at any time in the last 5 years. I give props to Real Rams Talk on Twitter. I think it's Trent Loomis, and he and I had briefs back and forth on Twitter where he liked the idea of Mayfield. I really, at the point is, I just want to see what we had in Bryce Perkins, and I took heat online for that, and I'm going to talk about it here in a minute. But he said bringing in Mayfield gives us a better opportunity to evaluate what we have in Skoranek, Atwell, and some of the other guys that are there. And, it was a good point. It was a real good point. And then icing on the cake, Mayfield goes 98 yards and gets the game winner. And that's it about Mayfield, though. Mayfield presents a great option. First off, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, right? We know that. No one wanted him, right? No one wanted him. So where's he going to go? So unless, I think even if he finishes the year with 20 touchdown passes in the next 4 weeks, right? Those 5 touchdown passes each of the next 4 weeks, no one's going to want Baker Mayfield. I just don't see anyone giving him any money. But he has to know that since no one claimed him and Sean McVay likes him, he has to know that maybe staying with the Rams might be his best bet. Now, it's going to require eating some ego, right? But if Mayfield wants to continue his career, he really needs to think about signing cheap with the Rams and have a mindset that he'll be a backup for at least 2 years. And just because you're a backup for a couple years doesn't mean you're not going to get another shot. Geno Smith hasn't been a starter since 2014, and he's gotten his shot this year. Marcus Mariota, who just lost his job, I think, to Desmond Ridder, but Marcus Mariota set for a couple years behind Derek Carr in Las Vegas, and he's getting another shot. So Mayfield would get another shot if he goes through the right procedure. And so I'd love to see him agree to come back cheap, be a good soldier, right? Be a good soldier and see him as the Rams backup for the next 2 years. And then maybe it's 1 year. We don't know how much Stafford has left, but maybe he becomes the bridge guy until they figure out what direction they want to go after Stafford. Baker Mayfield is not a healthy Matthew Stafford. Baker Mayfield is a pretty good quarterback. He's not great, right? But if he could be a good soldier, if he could be a team player, if he can understand that this is his best bet, boy, he'd be a heck of a backup from the next 2 years or so for the Rams. He would be an incredible backup and be such an upgrade. And that would solve one of the biggest issues that we were talking about going back to the end of last year. Do you really want to go into the 2022 season with John Wolford as your backup? It's like having Mel Counts as your starting center. There's just things you just don't want to do, and it came back and bit us. We were talking about this in the spring, in the summer. Do you really trust that Matthew Stafford's going to have another injury-free year? Now, no one knew that the offensive line was going to look like the MASH unit, but that only contributed to Stafford's, his getting the snot beat out of him this year. Having Mayfield is he's kind of like the Cadillac to John Wolford's Mazda, right? I mean, so I really think this would be a great move. And I took heat for my argument regarding Bryce Perkins, and completely misunderstood, as everything is on social media. My argument is not that I think Bryce Perkins is ready to be a starter for the Rams, that he's the guy. It's not that I think he can even come close to replacing Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff at this point, right? My issue was that Bryce Perkins has eaten an active roster spot for 2 years on the 53-man roster. He hasn't been on the practice squad. He's been on the active roster. They have not waived him for fear of losing him. And so my argument was that if you're going to keep him around, this was the most opportune time to play him. If you think you really have something you want to develop, let him start the last month of the season. We know what John Wolford is. He's hit his ceiling. And the only start you're going to give Bryce Perkins is in Arrowhead in that environment with Chris Jones breathing down his neck? Come on. I mean, what was that? Why would we go back to Wolford? So that's why I was upset. But after seeing Mayfield, and if somehow Mayfield decides he wants to re-sign cheap, Mayfield decides he wants to be a good soldier with an opportunity to be the Rams' bridge after Stafford goes, then you know what? I'm going to keep Baker Mayfield, and hopefully we don't see Wolford or Perkins again for the Rams. Now, my argument for Perkins is I think maybe he could be a package guy. I don't know if he's willing to do that. You use him. The football has become so creative now in so many ways, and it's really great to see. But he could be at that Taysom Hill aspect if he's willing to do that kind of stuff. If not, if he wants to keep playing quarterback, he needs to go to the USFL or XFL and get some more snaps, get some more experience. Because no, obviously he's not ready to be a starter in the NFL. But the Rams gave a roster spot to him for 2 years. So they must see something. But if they're not going to play him, then move on from him. Just move on and save that roster spot for, I don't know, another offensive lineman. Save that roster spot for, I don't know, another running back. Do something with it, but don't waste it on a third quarterback. Three active quarterbacks on a 53-man. That just doesn't work. And speaking of Mayfield and how he made the offensive line look better, you can look at it and you see it in the grades. I thought they really suffered on the wings. I didn't think they suffered so much up the middle. But Tyler Nesky, he graded well at left tackle. Matt Skura at left guard was slightly above average. But Brian Allen was good in pass protection, but very pedestrian in run blocking. Now, Coleman Shelton, who got the flag, graded out with his best game of the year. He graded out in the 80 percentile this Thursday night. He graded out really, really well according to PFF. And so he did well. Rob Havenstein, by the way, though, had his worst performance of the season thanks to Max Crosby, which you have a good game against Max Crosby. Of course, again, I think the offensive line was helped. It was helped significantly by Mayfield's decision-making and getting the ball out as quick as possible. He also he seemed to develop a good rapport with Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek. And you just saw the plays that Ben Skoranek made yesterday. 7th round pick, guys. I think he was 249, 251, someplace in there. He was supposed to be a special teamer. He got on the field. He had significant snaps in the Super Bowl. We're seeing what the Rams see. And good draft pick, by the Rams. So when you're thinking fire Les Snead, now I don't know what they're doing and some of the other stuff they're doing, but they made some good draft picks here. Van Jefferson was a good draft pick. Is Van Jefferson great? No. In fact, the play that Skoranek made on the 32-yard gain where he went up and contested, Van Jefferson doesn't make that catch. Van Jefferson doesn't. Van Jefferson has shown no ability to make a contested catch. I don't really view that catch he made for the game-winning touchdown a contested catch. I view that that Baker Mayfield's pass was so spot on that it was uncontested, and he just put it in an amazing spot. But Skoranek will fight for the ball, and that's not saying I'm down on Van Jefferson. Is that Van Jefferson is what he is. And so good draft pick there. And Tutu Atwell, say what you want about him. The Rams have opened the door for people to rightly criticize him and to criticize the Rams. I get it. I don't know what the slow roll was on Atwell, because what he's displayed the last couple weeks is Tutu Atwell, we've always known he's fast, but we also seen Tutu Atwell has hands. Manos de pegamento, He has hands of glue. He has very good hands. And you see him in his limited way. He will compete for a catch. And so you get the idea of why, or the vision was, hey, let's take this kid. We got something here. Let's take this guy and see if we can develop him. Now, I don't know what that means going forward, but if they play him and he gives you what he's giving you now, I think we can slowly remove the capital B from the bust and maybe lowercase b, and then maybe we can pull back further. Brandon Powell was questionable, I think, going into the game, so he is a little banged up. But if Brandon Powell was hurt, I get it, but I don't want him losing snaps to Austin Trammell. I just don't need to be in the Austin Trammell business right now. I want to see Brandon Powell, but if he was banged up, I completely understand. Slam Cam Akers for his fumble. I get it. Came at a bad time. There was a couple plays there besides the horrible call on Havenstein that killed that drive that led to the 61-yard field goal attempt to Cam Akers' fumble. The Rams offensively moved the ball to a point where they could have probably added another 10 points there in this game and maybe not have had it be so critical. But Akers, he averaged 3.5 yards a carry. So, the offensive line's not great, right? But on that fourth down, when he caught the ball at the 1 and got it the first down, for a guy that sometimes you have to wonder about Cam Akers, he showed a lot of character because you knew he was going to get whacked. He had to know where Mayfield ended up putting that ball and how he had to stretch out for it. He was going to get whacked. He did that, and he came down and did just enough to get that first down. And so that was cool to see. And again, I know I put on Facebook or I put on social media after Akers fumbled. I said, hey, what about Darrell Henderson? Where's Darrell Henderson? Yeah. Kyrene Williams, 3 carries, 19 yards. Kyrene Williams looks good. And even my friend Dwayne Barker from Mid-Valley Sports was watching the game with me last night. You saw on a couple occasions why they drafted Kyrene Williams, and it wasn't just that niftiness and ability to catch the ball. You saw him pick up the blitz and really block well for Mayfield in the pocket. Malcolm Brown is back. Malcolm Brown has risen from the grave more times than Dracula and Christopher Lee playing him, right? I mean, you just keep seeing Malcolm Brown, and he contributed. So good for Malcolm Brown, right? So the Rams looked okay. It's just a different thing with an NFL quarterback. Wolford is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, and Bryce Perkins is way too far down the line. And if you want to question the McSnead admin on this, is the idea that they thought they could go into a season with a quarterback the age of Matthew Stafford, who has the wear and tear on him like Matthew Stafford does, and think, that if Matthew Stafford misses any significant time, we can go with John Wolford. Please, rightly criticize them there, but don't criticize them on drafting a Ben Skoranek and some of the moves they made. Another guy they picked up a few years ago, he's a free agent. I thought he had his best game of the year, was Greg Gaines. He's the only anchor on that defensive line as you're running in Marquise Copeland and Jonah Williams and Bobby Brown. But Greg Gaines probably had his best game of the year. Played really, really well. On the edge, Leonard Floyd, what Leonard Floyd always is. He's okay. He's not horrible. He's okay. He's right in the middle of the road. He's making better than okay money. I don't know if that's going to be some kind of buyout or something they're going to think about, because I don't know if they got anybody to replace him. But he was okay. And Michael Hoyt, call it Hoyt. He struggled on the edge last night, right? And you really didn't get to see him in pass rush because the Raiders didn't throw the ball that much, but he struggled on the edge. I think his inexperience got him. That doesn't mean you write him off. That means he's learning the position. I think he was a hand in the dirt lineman, and now they're moving around the edge. I love it. 6'5" guy, 310 pounds. He can get after the quarterback a little bit. Let's see how he develops. Let's not send him packing. But it was nice to see Daniel Hardy get some snaps. And both Hoyt and Hardy seemed very comfortable in pass coverage. It wasn't a lot, but they seemed comfortable there. Keir Thomas is playing, but to me, Keir Thomas looks like he put on some weight from preseason to the regular season. I don't know. We'll see. In the secondary, Darian Kendrick didn't play last night, and I put out some feelers. I'm just trying to find out why he didn't play, and I haven't gotten an answer because he didn't take any snaps, and they had just got through saying he played one of his better games of the year against Seattle. And I like Darian Kendrick. I've honked for Darian Kendrick because I think he competes, and I've said that about him and Kobe Durant. But Kendrick didn't play a snap, and maybe it's because he wouldn't give Baker Mayfield number 6. I don't know. And I don't know why anyone's saying he has to give Baker Mayfield number 6. If he wants to, great, but he doesn't have to. Mayfield has not done a whole lot. He's not like he's Tom Brady coming in there, right? It's not like he's Peyton Manning coming, okay, dude, give the dude his number. This is Baker Mayfield, right? Who nobody gave a rat's keister about until Van Jefferson caught that pass from him with 10 seconds to play last night. So I don't know why Darian Kendrick didn't play. If anybody knows, let me know. I'd like to hear. But the Rams went with Ramsey Hill and Kobe Durant. And again, the Raiders did not throw the ball. And I thought by and large, Jalen Ramsey did a good job on Davante Adams. And I just think people are just looking at Jalen Ramsey as an easy target right now. But first of all, Davante Adams is the best receiver in football. And you can't stop a one-handed grab like he had right off the bat at the beginning of the game. It was a one-handed catch, right? It was a one-handed catch. And then later on along the sidelines, Derek Carr made a perfect throw, a la Baker Mayfield did at the end of the game. He made a perfect throw to Adams. Ramsey was one step behind him. He was right where he should have been, and it was a great catch. So don't bag on Jalen Ramsey. Troy Hill was decent last night. I still don't think he's long-term. Kobe Durant played. He was so-so. But between Durant and Kendrick, they just need more playing time. They just need more playing time. And that goes back to what are we doing with our with David Long, Robert Rochelle? The biggest thing Robert Rochelle did last night was get headbutted by Baker Mayfield. David Long, we know, is through, and he's injured right now. I don't know if we're going to see him again this year. And as I said, the Raiders did the Rams a huge favor, only throwing the ball 20 times. Derek Carr, Davante Adams, they only throw the ball 20 times. That I don't get. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And they're not trying to block Aaron Donald, right? There's no Aaron Donald to block. So I don't know why they didn't go to the air. And before you get too excited about Taylor Rapp, he graded out well. He got the pick. Folks, it's fool's gold, right? It's fool's gold. Don't get all caught up and excited that, Taylor Rapp's ready to play. Someone had to pick off that ball, and it was Taylor Rapp. So in about 10 days, 11 days, it's on to Green Bay. And we're going to Green Bay again. And in a game that was going to be kind of, little limited chance, it'll be interesting to see how quick Mayfield, not how quick, he obviously in 48 hours picked up a bunch, but how much more he learns in the next week and a half, because that was really, really impressive. I think as we're seeing with Atwell, we're seeing at least why they thought, hey, let's take this guy in the second round. And I think what we're seeing with Mayfield, which really, it surprised everybody when he was taken number 1 overall, but you could see maybe some of the things that people liked about him. Lincoln Riley liked him, okay? He won a Heisman with Lincoln Riley. He's decisive, and they really made it sound like he came in and was a quick study for McVay's offense. It sounds like a great fit. So, Baker, I know you're watching because you never miss the show. So if you could, sign a very decent contract, we'll dump Wolford and Perkins in the street, give you what we're paying them plus 20% or something. And if you can settle for that, be a caddy for Matthew Stafford for another year, maybe 2. And then maybe you could be our bridge quarterback until the next best thing comes along. And we'll see where the Rams go. It would be kind of nice, huh? Wouldn't it be kind of nice? I think at least we don't have to have our throats fall to our stomach every time Stafford goes down and worry about John Wolford coming in, right? I mean, this was like Pete Beathard coming in for Roman Gabriel when I was a kid. It's like, no. Oh, no, please don't let that happen. And the other thing about Mayfield that I didn't get a chance to talk on that's really interesting is the Rams historically have been a landing spot, at least since I was a kid, for quarterbacks in their last shot, right? Joe Namath in 77, Dan Pastorini in 81, Burt Jones in 82, Steve Bartkowski in 86. You see these guys, they come and they get that last shot kind of with the Rams. And so it's cool. I really hope Mayfield has more in the tank than those guys did, but it'll be fun to see what plays out with Baker Mayfield. At least it makes the last month of the season somewhat interesting, and it's going to be a heck of a story. So, all right, folks, we're coming up to the 25-minute mark. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Joe Tarosian, and this was RamView, and I do this. I am a pastor of a small church in Burbank, and I'm also a writer, and I've written several books. And 2 of my books are right here: Great Christmas Stocking Stuffers, Tangent Dreams, and Temple City Company of the Ages. This one is Temple City Company of the Ages is an indirect follow-up to this book. and Tangent Dreams, but they're both available on Amazon, have received good reviews. You can check those out there. And please hit like, hit subscribe, leave comments and questions. I love to interact. But what a fun game last night, and we will talk to you soon. I'm Joe Tarosian, and this has been RamView. Take care. God bless.